welcome to IndieCapitol. I'm Pamela Nash, and this is Michelle Farrell. Michelle, local cinematographer, gaffer. How did you get your start in cinematography?
Well, basically, 10 years ago, I just wanted to shoot a movie, and I wrote, produced, directed my own movie. It's a little independent called Frankie's Heaven. Well, we got a bunch of producers, we got some gear, and I blocked all the shots, not really all the lighting, but there was a lot of things I did. And I took that as my demo to get my first shooting job. And I shot for Gordon Del Giorno up in Wilmington, Delaware, the Film Brothers. And I shot my first movie as a cinematographer. So the whole idea from the beginning was to make a living at doing independent films. So far, so good.
So you just picked up a camera, shot a film, and it was good enough to get you a job. Do you have a background in photography or art or design?
No,
Wow.
Actually, I went to Sheffield Institute, which was a basic camera video school,
Oh, okay.
but it wasn't enough knowledge of to do what I wanted to do. So what I did is read a lot of books. And that was pretty much it, and getting on film sets. But to just get the whole ball rolling is to have something and use that as your calling card. And then after I shot my first movie, it just kept snowballing, and I get this and I get that, and it was anything to stay alive. And the whole deal is to keep growing the company and the equipment. So now I got I shoot, I light, sometimes I do sound, but I also have a rental business. So it all is in the whole grand scheme to stay alive and support myself as an independent filmmaker, which isn't that easy.
One of the things we talk about a lot on this program is film school or no film school. I kind of brief survey found that most people who've gone to film school think you need to go, and most people who haven't gone to film school think you don't need to go. What's your position on film school?
Well, I teach a class at the Creative Alliance, but it's only a 1 to 3 day class, depending on what, who's, deciding that. But I think film school, and I've heard both arguments too. But I think film school, any knowledge in the film business is good. So I don't think it hurts you. Now, would I spend my money on that? No, I'd probably buy an Epic or an Alexa or something. If you just go and get them film sets, you'll learn. The kid who used to work for me a long time ago, and he spent his 18th birthday on our film set, and it was my first gaffing job. He's out in New Mexico. I heard he's making over $100,000 a year, and he hasn't been to film school one day. Thing is, to get him film sets, you'll learn a lot on film sets, but knowledge is power, and that film background does not hurt you. But you can go to college, and you might be a manager at Wendy's, and it's what you do and how you apply yourself with anything that you're self-employed. Is going to make you or break you.
And how do you advise the students that take your class? They can learn technique, they can learn how to operate cameras, but how do they develop the eye for what they see? How do they tell the story visually?
Well, I don't teach a camera class per se. But I think any of that is all in just photography and learning, the golden rule and the little tic-tac-toe thing, and knowing your sweet spots and learn about contrast and warming and cooling. And a lot of that is just in books, and a lot of it is just in books. And with this whole digital revolution, with the DSLRs, and now that forces the big companies, Sony, Panasonic, and Red came out, that they're going to have a big chip, and they're going to have that depth of field now, which the DSLRs pushed into that. And I think that because of this whole DSLR revolution, there's just a lot of amazing people coming out of this whole thing. And, you know, some are good, and some of them are just people with a camera that are calling themselves DPs.
And this is interesting because you're actually making your living doing this, where a lot of people in the DC community are kind of volunteering for each other's sets and working on each other's films, but not getting paid. How do you break out of that barter system and get yourself into a position like you did where you're getting paid for your work?
Well, I think that basically that is your film school when you're going to this, but I think you got to be careful sometimes too, because some people are shooting 4 and 5, it's their 5th feature, and they're just getting everything for nothing. Well, I don't know. It's like, will you come and wash my car for nothing? You know, if I'm going to sit there for 30 days and work on your set, you know, when you're first getting into business, I think it's a different thing. You need the experience. Once you get that experience, now you're a trained professional. And it actually, I haven't been to film school, but if I had a degree and I spent all this money and everybody just wants to pay me a Subway sandwich, I don't know. I wouldn't take that as a compliment. You know, so you got to be careful because people do hoard a system, and I think you know, and you got to see who plays fair, and who is going to do something for your future, or is somebody just going to say, I want something for nothing all the way through. You know, so you just got to be careful who you're dealing with.
That's good advice. Now, you're not just a camera person. You've actually written, you've produced, you've directed. Tell us a little bit about some of the other work that you've done besides cinematography.
Well, my first script, Frankie's Heaven, I wrote, produced, and directed. I just want to shoot a movie, and then, you know, I bought my partners out after that, and then started doing other people's works. Because as a director, everybody gets out of film school. Everybody wants to be the director. Everybody wants to be, you know, the producer and all this. Fact of the matter is, you got to pay the bills if you want to survive, or you can do it on the weekends or whatever. But if my greatest advice is to learn, get on sets, meet people, because people work with the people they work with and they know, and learn these skills, but learn how to crew, learn all the jobs. A lot of times, you know, I've done sound on some big productions, not just stock work, sound. I wouldn't jump right into a big giant full feature doing sound because you know, I'm not that good, but you know, I got a good sound kit and I know the basic stuff. You know, don't throw no big curveballs at me, and you know, I could shoot the talking head all day long. Well, do the sound of the talking head. Oh, I forgot where we're going with this one.
Oh, we're just talking. We're just talking about the different, besides cinematography, other things that you've done.
Oh, yeah. All right. Anyway, I wrote and produced my first movie, Frankie's Heaven, and that just snowballed into the cinematography. But since that, I have written another script. It's called Heart City. And I have recently, second time I sold this, because the first time I sold it, I opted it for 2 years. Well, that was 4 years ago. So now I've resold it to Ivy Street Productions. Now, my friend Jonathan Reed, you know, liked the script. He goes, you got any scripts? I'm like, yeah, I got this one sitting here. He said, send it to me. I love the script, and we went through the rewrites and all that. So he purchased the script straight out. I don't own it no more. And this is the first work that I just lost indefinitely throughout the universe. And but Jonathan's a smart cookie, and he knows some people. And who knows, this movie might just be something. You know, he might get it. If not, he said, if we do shoot it here, then I'm the cinematographer, and you know, so we'll shoot it together. And he's my friend also, so it was a good deal. So as a writer. And I also wrote a script called Potato Girl, and I hope to get that produced in the springtime. And you know, like a bunch of close friends, I won't personally shoot a movie and just ask everybody to do it for free. You know, if you're shooting on Sundays, my first movie I did the same thing. We only shot on Sundays. I don't want you to quit your day job to do my movie. So if we shoot it, it would be straight through, and you know, I need money. Who's got money?
So, as a writer, how do you make the choice? This one I'm going to send out and see if anybody will produce it. This one I want to produce myself. What are some of the things that you're thinking about when you decide whether to send your script out or do it yourself?
With the scripts, I really, when I first got into business, I thought I was going to just write scripts, send them out, and they were going to buy them. And then you got to learn about query letters and all this other stuff. I don't. It's like, I know what, the second script I wrote, I just wanted to write something different. First genre was magical realism. Second was kind of urban piece. This one's a comedy, and my next one I think is going to be a horror. So I'm not stuck to one genre. And Potato Girl, I'm not even going to try to sell it. I'm going to try to shoot it, But I know some people that know a little more than I do, and they said get some faces in it. If you want to sell something, you need faces. You need Hollywood people. So that's the goal.
So I'm hearing that a lot, actually. Oh, you have to have a name. You have to have. How do you get a name? Like
money.
So you raise the money and they'll come?
That's it, and hopefully someone likes your script and they do it at a decent rate, or your cousin is, Val Kilmer, and that's what it gets down to. It's a business of everything's tied in. And, we were talking about Sundance earlier,
right.
And everybody's going to Sundance and all this, but look at the movies that are going to Sundance. They've got names or the narration by Tom Hanks. I mean, I don't know Tom Hanks, and I don't know anybody.
Right.
So.
None of my cousins are in the film industry.
Right, and it's tough.
You
it's
bastards.
Tough. They said, I've gotten some money for Frankie's Heaven from somebody. Just one of the actors happened to be really rich. He says, "Do you need some money?" And I said, "Yeah." And my documentary, Mayor Drummond, had given me $5,000, and John Pogue, Capitol Film Studios, I've done a couple of movies with him, has given me $5,000. They said, "But how do you raise money?" It's like, no people with money that like you and believe that you got something good, or just want to do it because you're a good friend. I give up on all these writing letters to get grants, and I could spend better time working and doing something with the money, and then actually going through doing all the stuff. I'm sure there's people that do better than me. I'm just not good at it, so I just rather just work and just cut the middleman out and just.
So once you're wrapped shooting on your film, your film is done. What do you send it to film festivals? Do you make DVDs? Do you try to get distribution? What do you do?
Well, with my movie Unraveling Michelle, that was a documentary about my crazy little life. And shot that 4 years ago, and it went through the festival circuit. But what you do is, once you get your cut, which we were always changing, and we can change this, we can change that, you take and you send your query letters out. And, you can't solicit distributors, so you have to ask them, can you send a copy? Well, then they say yes, they say no. And then when they say yeah, it's a solicited. And then you just send out your, first you start with a query letter, and it's email now. And then you send them out your little press kit with your DVD. When they like it, they don't like it. So it's one of those kind of things.
So if you're an artistic type, you've got the idea, you write your film, you shoot your film, how do you get over all these business hurdles?
Ooh, well, see, it's a film business. It's not film. I heard it on TV, film friendness. It's film business, and unless someone else is doing it for you, you got to do it. And it's more business than probably anything else. It's a creative business. It depends what you're doing, what department. But you got to start with an idea, and then you got to put the right formula down. Then you got to get the right people in it. Then you got to get the right technical people, and then you got to get all your places, and you got to get and all this is all making deals. That's business. And even after you go and you get in a can, you got to edit it all right. It's got to be sweetened. It's got to have music, or whatever you're doing. But you put all this together, and then now what? So the whole thing is a business. Now, are you doing a very low budget? Or are you doing a medium budget? We do $50,000 to 150, something like that. And you know, I have a lot of gear, and most of the money that I actually make is because I bring the gear and I get a rental. So the gear is what keeps me alive, and I treated it like a business, and I have a website, and I have business cards, not friendness cards, business cards. So you know, it is strictly a business, and you got to treat it so.
And we can put your website up if you tell us your website.
Okay, it's www.absoluteindependentpictures.com.
And we are going to look at some trailers at some of your work, or some clips. Why don't you tell us about some of the things that we're going to take a look at?
Oh, some of them, okay. Well, I knew of one, and the one was from the documentary that screened at Rosebud. And I'm not sure if they're going to screen it because back then it wasn't released, and we didn't do anything with it, but they can screen it if they want now. But I guess the setup for that would be, I had a little switch in my life a few years ago, and nobody knew, so I pointed a camera at my crew and came out to my crew on camera. Well, you know I'm the camera operator because I was the only one that knew, so I put them behind a mirror. So you know I'm the filmmaker, and you'll see that me coming out to our sound guy, who ended up being our co-director, and one of the local people here in Arlington, Greg Miller, came out to him. He was ACing for me back then, so you'll see that.
And what made you choose that method to do it?
You know, I haven't did anything for a while. I did Frankie's Heaven, and I just thought I had the inside, angle on this one, and I just thought it was smart, and I just thought it was a good, good thing, and not that I wanted to say, oh, I want to be a documentary filmmaker, basically I want to pay the bills. No, I just thought it was a good story, a good way to tell a story. So we just followed me and my little crazy life around it with cameras. So.
Did you have any unexpected reactions from any of your crew?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some were good and some were bad. You can watch the movie and you'll see it's kind of crazy. Sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. But it was what it was. If anything that they said about this documentary, it's honest. And sometimes I'm totally embarrassed in it, but I just wanted to put it all out there, and I did.
And let's take a look at the clip.
Basically, we're going to tell you about a project that we're going to be working on. It's about two girls who meet each other. They live in a lesbian relationship. And it's the downward spiral into the club scene. One gets a severe heroin problem, and the other spirals down with her. Typical story, but the difference in the twist is one of the girls isn't really a girl. She's a boy who lives a dual life. In one world is a girl, the other life is a boy. One of the girls actually happened to be the filmmaker Joe Farrell. Lives a life as a girl also, a dual life. The documentary is basically Joe Farrell might be living a dual life soon as a female documentary maker.
That's great. I like it. I love it. I'd like to keep finding out more.
I understand the long hair.
That form of bravery is the greatest form of art, wouldn't you say?
Well, it was also my little safety blanket because I tried to make something that I was so frightened over cool.
Yeah.
So it was I'm shooting a dog, So it was my little safety net, and so we went out and did it, and we did well. We screened in a few foreign countries, India, Brazil, Canada. We went to Inside Out. We won a peer award here locally, and Utopia Film Festival, Rosebud. We did a bunch of film festivals, a lot of screenings, some colleges, you know, and it's been good. It's been really fun, and it was something that was just good for a lot of reasons, and you know, good for my community, good for a lot of things, and you know, and got great feedback and you know, great response, and it's been fun.
So let's talk about a couple of your more recent films that you've worked on. What would you say was like the most fun film that you've worked on lately?
The most fun film. Actually, I've been enjoying myself the last couple of years. I got my crew people that work for me now. I love them, and you know, we get to do a lot of different things. It's been a lot of shorts lately. I actually finished 3 documentaries. Sorkin Productions we're actually still shooting for him, Roger Sorkin. He's originally out of D.C. and I was working for him. And then Ivy Street Productions, Jonathan Darden. We just shot Solar Vision and on the DC Eagle. So that was pretty fun. And everybody was just really nice with the doc work. And just worked on something last night for Steve Yeager, only Maryland Sundance winner. And it's the first time I worked with Steve. And then, you know, I just did some grit work and bring the gear and stuff like that. He rented the gear. And, oh, God, we were walking up and down a hill. It was raining. But it was fun. I liked the crew there, and it was a good time. You know, it was hard. My legs hurt. But it was a good time. We shot a couple things up in Delaware, and they were just, you know, good times. So I don't know if anything pops. It's just been a really nice ride lately. So it's been nice.
Well, I think that the DC film community is really vibrant, really very supportive, very cohesive. If your films start getting out there and you're getting names and you're getting distribution, would you stay in DC and keep making films, or would you head off to Hollywood, or what would you do long term?
Oh no, I'm not going nowhere. I'm established here, and you know, I get calls, and you know, it's like, hey, what are you doing next week? Oh, you know, we have you know, whatever, and I built a client base, and why would I walk away from that? And you know, I got my cute little apartment up in Maryland, and I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care how, if anything would blow up, you know, I am not going nowhere, you know, and you can do this here, you know, there's no reason why you can't, you know, everybody says they go to New York and they go to LA because there's more work. Yeah, but there's more people looking for the work, right. So, you know, a lot of it's who you know, and you know, people work with the people they work with.
Right, so how do you, if you're a newcomer into the DC film scene, what would you say is the best way to start getting yourself known so that you can get into that network?
Oh, well, there's a lot of organizations. There's the DC, what is our DC thing called? Oh, I don't know, but there's a couple organizations down here. Back up in Maryland, Baltimore, because I'm closer to Baltimore, there's the Creative Alliance. But, you know, there's just a lot of networking things. Like my greatest thing that I would never give up is women in film and video in DC. Their listserv is just phenomenal, and you know, pretty much anything can be answered. They're professionals, you know, a lot of them are professionals. A lot of people want to get into business, but there's a lot of professionals there. So if you have a question, who's doing what, you know, Craigslist. Go on Craigslist and, you know, volunteer. If you've never worked on anything, volunteer. If you have the smarts, the drive, the time, you could just start meeting people. You start somewhere. This one is working on something. This one, it's so little circles that come through, and you work with this one, work with this one, and you run into this actor 4 times in a year. It's a small community, you know. I don't know everybody out there, but I know 3 people that he hired or she hired, you know. So it's a very small community. The thing is just to get active. See, you know, first thing is go on Craigslist, women enjoying women in film. the Creative Alliance, go down there. You know, there's places.
What do you look for when you're crewing up? Like, do you have certain criteria? Do you want to just work with people that you've already worked with before, or do you look for certain skill sets?
Well, it depends how big the feature is, or short, or whatever. Generally, I have a lot of rotating, you know, my crew that I use, but sometimes they're on other things. Then you got to take chances on other people. And it depends how bad you need crew people, and do you want to put it on Craigslist?
I think that's what's interesting to people that want to watch this and learn about, like, well, how do I get in? How would I get a job working for Michelle? So what would they do?
You know, I've had a lot of people that come in and want to do a certain thing. Thing is, if you go on a film set and people like you, and a lot of times it's that, and you know your job, you'll get hired. And then this one knows this one and knows this one. And you see who people that actually work and, you know, get paid. And, you know, I make it a point that if you got a call from me, that means I'm giving you a paycheck for the most part. You know, unless it's my personal little things, but I'm usually doing you something, so you're getting something back in return. So it's just find someone on Craigslist, go join and find out who's doing it. There's things everywhere now, you know. There's things everywhere.
Awesome filmmaking advice from Michelle Farrell. For IndieCapitol, I'm Pamela Nash, and this has been Michelle Farrell. Thank you.